Welcome, everyone. My name is April Cox. Today's event is called From Idea to Impact. This is about your idea. Is it something that the marketplace is going to embrace? Or are you going to be spending thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars on a book to find that it missed the mark? So today I'm going to walk you through some practical things to vet your ideas. I am the founder of Little Labradoodle Publishing. I have helped over 1,500 authors to publish their books. This presentation came out of the mistakes that I see with some authors that come to me well past the ideation stage, in the midst of publishing their book, and have not vetted things well. I put this presentation together to help you through that process. I'm the creator of Self-Publishing Made Simple, which is a program that I've developed to help authors who have already written their books to go to the next level and to go through the publishing process. So at the end, I'll talk a little bit about that as well. I love this quote: every great book begins with an idea, but not every idea becomes a great book. If you dream of publishing a successful book, it can lead to frustration if you're not properly vetting your idea. We're going to go through a step-by-step guide. This is practical knowledge to help craft and vet your idea. Let's begin. The first thing I want you to think about is getting clarity around your ideal reader and target audience. If you don't have a clear understanding of who you are writing this book for, what they need, what their challenges are, what their hopes and dreams are, and what they're currently reading, then you're not going to have a very good opportunity to be successful with your book. Understand your target audience. We want you to be effective with your marketing, and it's really important right from the beginning to dig in to your target reader. The next is research and analysis. Understand your genre and subgenre in order to develop a successful book idea. What is popular? What are people currently reading? Do that research. Finding competitors will help you better understand where your book fits into the marketplace. We're going to walk through the details of that in this presentation. Next is your competition, really understanding what is out there, who has written a book like yours. How are you going to differentiate your book in the marketplace? Why should somebody buy your book instead of one of your competitors? How much are your competitors selling? What are people saying about those competitor books? We're going to walk through all of that. How much can you earn with your book? If you identify the competition and understand how your book fits in, you can, with some tools that I'll show you, come up with an idea of potential that your book in that same sub-niche could potentially make. So we're going to talk through practical ways of actually determining what the earning potential is. We're going to also talk through evaluating your idea. And this process is going to help you refine your concept, researching your niche and understanding your audience, and pulling it all together. I challenge each of you to walk through this with your current idea, the book you're writing or planning to write. Take a moment and through each step. At first, you might think, oh, this is a pain. Everybody always tells me, find my avatar, look at my competition. It's not a waste of time. You will come away with so much more clarity about whether or not this idea that has potential. Is it marketable? Is it something that is going to move you forward with building your author business? Now, this doesn't really apply if you are writing something and intrinsic value. I want to leave a legacy. This is my memoir. I'm going to leave it behind. Then it doesn't matter if it's profitable, right? It's something that you have on your bucket list to do. What I'm walking through is for people who want to make a profit, build an author business, and to make good decisions in being able to choose the ideas that they move forward with. Okay. We as authors have many ideas floating around in our heads. Which ones deserve to move forward to the next step? Okay. So let's start with defining your ideal reader. You probably have seen many presentations about this. They call the ideal reader your avatar, and they may tell you, put a name on it, put a face on it, create a little avatar, and think about that person when writing your book. What age group are they in? What are the interests and reading level of that target audience? Is it an adult book? Is it a middle grade? Is it YA? How much do you know about what they're reading? Really understand what they're looking for. Dig in and understand that. Psychographics, which is something that's often missed in this definition of your ideal reader. What challenges does your book address? What emotional needs does it fulfill? What goals readers want to achieve? Maybe the psychographics for your book is just being able to relax on a beach and to lose themselves in a cozy romance, to escape from the world and just enjoy wholesome romance or something more. A book to help kids with social emotional learning. What challenges does that child have? How will your book fulfill those needs and goals that the reader or the gatekeeper, in the case of a children's book, like the parent or grandparent or teacher, have for their child? Gatekeepers, what parents, teachers, and librarians look for in children's books. Librarians and bookstores evaluate your book before bringing it in. You want to take a look not only at the end reader, but what are the gatekeepers looking for? Will the library bring it in? Will the bookstore bring it in? What do they look for in books like yours? Your avatar is the detailed profile of your ideal reader to guide your storytelling decision. You can put a face on that. Some people will tell me, but I have more than one ideal reader. You're right, especially with children's books. You have an avatar for gatekeepers like teachers and what they're looking for versus a parent looking for their child who's struggling with executive functioning, right? So more than one ideal reader or avatar. Visit with librarians, visit bookstores, and find out what your ideal reader is checking out. What things are they having trouble keeping on the bookshelves? Get a complete understanding of your target audience, your perfect reader. When you know exactly who your reader is, you can create a story that resonates deeply and stands out in the marketplace. Now let's talk about the research and analysis you need to do to understand what people are looking for. What is the category that your book falls under? In other words, where does it fit in the broader market of your book? If you're writing children's books, what part of the category on Amazon or in the bookstore or your library does it fit? For example, picture books, there's a subcategory of interactive picture books. Press here, turn the page, shake this book. There's also, under that, maybe interactive bedtime stories. So if we're researching things, we want to walk through genre, subgenre, and the smallest niche there to find the types of things that we're competing with. To define your category, find that on Amazon, looking at your competitors and books similar to yours. Look at the categories on Amazon that they fit into. What did they suggest? And you can find that by scrolling to the bottom of the listing and seeing where they categorize themselves. When you're researching your book, use Amazon, Goodreads, libraries, social media to see what's in your niche. When researching competitors on Amazon, you're looking in your category, finding the best sellers. What are people saying about this book? What do they like about it? What is lacking in the book? This is going to give you a lot of insights. You can do this with Goodreads, your library, and social media to find out what is popular. Why is it important? Identify what makes your book unique What fresh perspective can you bring? I write children's books about a dog, and they're social emotional books, but there's a lot of puppy books out there. There's a lot of books that focus on social emotional learning. So what can I do to differentiate my book in this crowded niche? You need to think of that same thing when it comes to your own, to ensure your book stands out when we talk about profitable niches, it meets a clear need, is in demand, but not oversaturated, and allows for differentiation. I'm going to walk you through vetting of my current children's book idea. My current children's book series is the Little Labradoodle series, and it's on social emotional learning, created by me as a legacy project to leave with my grandkids. I want to make sure my next book is well received and it's successful. The idea that I have is about the little Labradoodle struggling with a death in the family. His nanny dog, who is called Aunt Nola. Aunt Nola passes away, and he goes through a very deep emotional challenge. Is this a good idea? And what is out there for children's books about death and dealing with loss? I'm just going to come to Amazon children's books about death and loss. You can usually find, with a general search, competitors you're looking for. I'm looking for a lot of reviews. This is at the top of the page without having to pay for an ad. So that means that this book is highly ranked. I'm going to open that in a new tab and go back to that in a minute. Everywhere, a book about loss, grief, and the way love continues. Right-click and open link in new tab. That gives me an opportunity to dig in further. Bestseller. When someone you love has died. Talking to your children about death. People looking for books about death and dying and wanting to talk to their child about it. Those are my competitors. Here's another one, a children's grief book. So 350 reviews, well reviewed. The Memory Box is another one I love about grief. Probably similar to mine. Now, I want to show you, you don't necessarily need a tool to identify these books that are competitors. However, if you want more information, I'm going to show you a tool I use on Amazon. Just search for something you think your target audience that you know very deeply, because you've gone through that process of really knowing your readers, and highlight the ones that have really good reviews, lots of them that are ranking high on this without having to pay. So just because this is ranking on the first page, because it's a sponsored ad, they're placing this here, but they're paying for placement, a competitor. So I'm going to go ahead, and here's one that's new. It's only got 12 reviews. I want something, a competitor that's been out a while and that I can learn from. Okay. So the tool that I use, once I've got the list and a great keyword search that I know pulls up the right kind of competition, I have this Chrome extension. It's about $65, one-time investment, and it is one of my favorite tools to use for competitive research. So I'm going to click here on Katie Spy, and it's going to pull together all of the books. I'm hoping you can see this okay. All of the books that are on this first page. Okay, here is the list of books, price, length of the book, the estimated monthly sales, the estimated monthly revenue, how many reviews, and what their sales rank is. And then it also gives me this red light, green light, yellow light kind of thing. How popular is this search term? How much potential is here when people are searching for this? What potential does this keyword have? The revenue potential of books under this keyword looks very good. And I'm seeing the average monthly revenue here of $2,400. When you want to be able to look at your niche, your sub-niche, and you want to understand what kind of potential you have, this is a great opportunity. If you find on this page something that doesn't really apply, you can uncheck it. On the right side, there's these little check boxes. So here's when I'm with Jesus. This is religious and mine does not have a religious undertones. I will uncheck that one because I don't want to compare my book with that. When I uncheck that, it'll recalculate things based on the new version. Competition also tells me that the competition is very strong. I have to differentiate myself to compete. A lot of books are doing well. Sort, the estimated monthly revenue. The Invisible String is selling $12,531, to be exact, per month for this book. Something very sad happened. That's selling $5,429. When Someone You Love Has Died, $5,091. Now we can go all the way down to here, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books on this first page are making $1,000 or more per month. How will I differentiate my book among these that are already selling well? This tool is helpful and I highly recommend everybody grab it. How is this different from Publisher Rocket? I do love Publisher Rocket, and it is another tool that I think every author should also have. This gives us the ability to dig into not just the potential, but also seeing the numbers of how much are people selling and to dig into stuff and look at it in a different way. So you may prefer to use Publisher Rocket. I prefer Katie Spy for research. There's no right or wrong. Next, I'm going to look at some of these pages I opened here are some competitors. This is ranked 4.5 on Goodreads. It is ranked 4.9. People ranked it 3-star. Why? Not much meaningful content. It looks like a child's book in format and content. Well, I think because it is a children's book, I would say that it should look like a child's book. The cover was absolutely destroyed, so I'm not going to even worry about that. That has nothing to do with feedback on the book. So let me see about the 4 stars. Is there anything I can gain? What are people raving about from this book? I bought this for my 13-year-old because his grandfather's passing away soon. People are using the book to broach the topic of death. The child picked it up, read it on the way home, and gave it an 8 out of 10. I give it a 10 out of 10. The artwork is great. I recommend and might buy for a few more people. The book had a few little flaws on the outer cover, so not anything that you need to worry about. Love this book. It's gentle, thoughtful, and respectful. For an 8-year-old, I would read these, understand what people appreciate about this book, and maybe what's different about the approach that I'm using versus the approach that they're using. I would also go to the library, check them out, or sit and read through them, or buy the book. If it's something special you want as a gift, then you probably want to evaluate, hold it, touch it, be able to see what kind of full picture that they're representing from cover, interior, all of that stuff. Evaluating the quality. Customers find it perfect for young children to understand imaginative illustrations and simply written content. Easy for youth to relate to. One customer notes it provides guidance for conversations with children. Lots of people talking about beautiful illustrations. So for this book to be successful, I need to compete with the beauty of the book. Illustrations need to be leveled up so that it can compete on this level. So this is print on demand issues. Again, perhaps I'll make a decision not to use print on demand based on what I find out. Was supposed to ease the grieving process of a young child having lost her grandpa. Acts on adults' habits is not what a child needs. Was expecting a focus on what the child was doing with her grandpa, their rituals in various circumstances, and how to deal with the emotions and memories now. According to this reviewer, it missed the target here. That's important for me to understand to make sure that mine does not miss the target. There's lots of research to understand all of this. Knowing your competition, we already talked about that. Find 3 to 5 books similar to yours in theme, genre, or target audience. Search marketplaces, bestseller lists, libraries, and then study their strengths, what readers love, weaknesses, and gaps. What is missing that your book could address? Is there a gap in the marketplace? How are you going to differentiate your story by using your analysis to identify ways the book can stand out with a fresh perspective or unique features? What I found when I dug into this for my competitors is these books focus on an adult providing guidance or talking to a child about death. I felt like there was a gap in the marketplace for the story I'm putting together. Friends and family, different animals will be talking to Brady, the Labradoodle, about loss, remembering, and comforting him through his emotions. And although I did find one book that is called The Rabbit Listened, which is about emotions and how just listening and being with somebody can help them process their emotions. So based on that, I do believe that I've differentiated my idea and my story in a way that I'll be able to make a case that it really is for children. It has his animal friends, his family, other dogs, and friends of the family that are all animals. So I think in one way, animal characters, the child will identify with the animal characters. And at the same point, maybe it removes a bit from the real pain they're going through, because it's not a child losing a grandparent, which is similar to what the child might be going through. It is something related with animal characters that they can relate to. Hopefully that is enough to differentiate my story. I believe after going through this research that it does have a value and it does fit in this, as well as with the profitability and how much is being made by those at the top of the charts. I believe there's plenty of room for my book. People don't often just buy one book. They usually buy 3 to 5 books to figure out which one works best for their child. I, as a grandmother, had a child who had some loss, and I wasn't sure which one of the books would best help the child. So I wanted to have a number of different ones that I could read and that could help process the grief. I don't have to beat them all, but I do need to make the cut by differentiating my book. Take time to evaluate your idea. Think about originality. Do you have a fresh twist on common themes? How is your book original from the ones that you've researched and that you now understand which are your competition? Is there any emotional resonance? Does it evoke joy, wonder, empathy? What emotional needs are you feeling? It could be the need to laugh and bond with your child. Evaluate how your book fills these needs. Does it have a clear purpose? Does it entertain, educate, inspire? What's the purpose of your book? Does it have memorable characters, engaging, relatable, something you can build upon with additional books? What about the market demand? Does it fill a gap in the market? I'm going to pause on this slide. Take the idea in your mind and evaluate it on these topics. Post in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being perfect in all of these things. How would you rank your idea on this evaluation criteria? So again, 1 is least, 10 is most, and tell me, where does your idea come in? Feel free to just post that into the chat. Joe says probably a 5. Mac says originality is a 10. That's great. Mac, you're ranking them separately. Clear purpose, a 9. Gives you an opportunity to really assess the different parts of your idea and make sure that you're adjusting things prior to moving forward with your idea. The reason why I came up with this presentation is because so many people come to me fully written, editing complete, and ready to move forward. They haven't really assessed whether this idea is going to be a good one and how they're going to distinguish the book. Quite often, when you do that, you're spending so much money on this book. You want to make sure it hits its target. Without this focus at the beginning, they publish, spend lots of money, and find it's not selling. Take the time up front to have a more successful book and the knowledge of your audience and a competition to truly market your book well. Demand, 5 to 7 range that you might want to look at. But the rest of your things are highly rated. Anyone else?
I'll have to go back to the drawing board as I look at these categories.
Joe, you and I have some coaching time, so I'm happy to walk through this with you. I'm glad you're seeing an opportunity to improve what you're doing before completely moving forward to editing, illustration, and all of that stuff. Many of us move forward to editing, but don't understand there are different types of editors. An important first step is a developmental edit. Some people call it a comprehensive edit, where they start with developmental and then they move forward with line and copy editing, proofreading, and other things. If you're just looking for an editor and don't realize the differences, then you can very easily fall into, oh, I'm just going to get an editor. You get a copy editor, and all they're looking for is punctuation. Are your periods there? Do you have quotation marks? They're not assessing the value of your story. A good developmental editor will help factor in evaluation of your idea. How can we make it more memorable? Is the arc good? Does it have a clear purpose? What can we do to make the characters more memorable? That's the kind of editor you want to work with. A great children's book idea doesn't need to tick every box, but understanding these elements will help refine your concept into something impactful. It's okay if you have one that isn't exactly a clear purpose. Sometimes just reframing things can go a long way. For example, I have one author that said to me, my books don't have any clear purpose, no lesson, nothing. They're just funny books. And I said, that's your purpose. Your purpose is to make people laugh, to be the book that the child is going to bring back over and over again to the parent to read. The book that the parent is going to laugh just as much as the child will, and that will help them come together and bond over this at bedtime or whenever they read it together. So I was able to reframe and say, yes, you do have a purpose. Next is commercial potential. We looked at bestsellers with the keyword I started. You can also look at bestseller lists on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, go to bookstores, ask librarians, which books can you not keep on the shelf around this topic? For example, if I go into my library and say, I've got a child who just lost a grandparent, what books do you recommend for this topic? Which are the most popular? Which ones can you not keep on the shelf? You'll get recommendations. So you can ask people, look on Amazon, introduce yourself to those bookstores and librarians as you do your research, because they'll remember you later when it's your turn to share what you've created. We talked about comparable titles and assessing the profit potential. Publisher Rocket is another great tool that will help you with calculating the potential returns. If I look at rankings of my top 5 competitors, and they're under 1,000, they're high on Amazon's list, it's going to be hard for me to break into that market. I need to know what I'm in for. If you're looking at 6-figure ranking, maybe 100,000 or 50,000, there's some demand, but also potential for me to compete. Looking at ranking, profitability, what they're making, and how your book is going to fit into that market. Those are all opportunities to understand the commercial potential of your book. This is something that I didn't do when I started, and so many of my clients have suffered with this. So don't fall into that. If you need help, schedule a meeting with a coach or work through this with some tools I've talked about. True profitability comes from creating a book with longevity that continues to sell for years, not just achieving initial success. Look at those classics out there. And one of my authors said, April, should I just look at books released in the past couple of years when I look at competitors? Absolutely not. Some books have been selling for decades and are still at the top of the list. Understand those books. Why is it such a beloved book? What's the staying power? And can you get that for your book? Because that's the goal. The most profitable children's books often solve a problem, fill a specific need, to connect emotionally with children or adult purchasers. It meets the needs of not only the child, but the adult. I find this true with, especially with some books have things for the parents that the kid wouldn't understand, but it makes the parent snicker a little bit or offers some kind of deja vu from books from the past that person might really resonate with. So now it doesn't have to be a children's book. Yours could be something that's a nonfiction book, creating things that have longevity that are not just a point in time. For example, I have authors who wrote about COVID, and at the time it sold really well, but it's not something that over time is going to stand the test of time 10 years later, 20 years later. Build confidence in your vision, take your insights and start to craft a one-sentence pitch. This is something that you can pull together and start talking about your book. When you're talking about marketing, it's really about having that one-sentence pitch, one-sentence hook that tells people what your book is about, maybe a concept sheet. These kinds of things built early on are going to help you build on the marketing strategy moving forward. Seek some feedback with trusted peers, mentors, or your target audience for validation. Do they understand? Is it compelling? What more could you do? I love AI for this analysis. Preneur.ai is my custom AI tool created on top of the ChatGPT ecosystem. It has additional training for authors. If you're interested in checking it out, that's authorpreneur.ai. You'll find help creating your one-sentence pitch and concept sheet. You'll ask questions and help synthesize your thoughts for marketing. I like this quote, confidence doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from taking action in your refined vision. When you go through all of these things, you're going to build confidence in your idea. You're going to understand the potential of your idea. And you're going to get to the point where you feel more able to share with others because it's a validated idea. And that will help you to avoid some of the imposter syndrome. An example of crafting your one-sentence pitch. You can see the strong example and the weak example here. A compelling pitch communicates your book's value, sparks curiosity, and clearly positions it in the market. I used to call this an elevator pitch. When you get into an elevator and somebody says, I heard you were writing a book, tell me about it. Before they get up 3 floors, you should be able to tell them a bit about the book and let them ask more questions. Here's a strong example. Moonlight Adventures is a bedtime picture book for anxious 4 to 7-year-olds. About a shy rabbit who discovers nighttime is full of wonder, not fear. It tells everything in such a short space that it's easy for people to understand if that book is for them. Your target audience that has a little one who's afraid of bedtime would be perfect. They would hear this pitch and go, that's for me. I need that book. The weak example, my book is about animals and has nice illustrations that children will enjoy. Not compelling. Doesn't tell me what's special about the book. Whenever you're using AI, you want to tell the AI how you want them to act. What role do you want the AI to play? So act as a PR book marketing expert. Ask me some questions to get familiar with my book so you can help me brainstorm on a one-sentence elevator pitch for my book. You're moving on to the next steps. Finalize your manuscript. Take what you've learned, refine the manuscript. Work with a developmental editor. Engage your audience. Read your story to kids. Get their feedback if it's For adults, get beta readers or peers. Share your progress on social media to build your platform. I want to make sure that I'm truly going to finish the book before I start telling anybody about it. That is not the way to be able to market your book. Start talking about it. Invite people on your journey. Tell them you've created a Facebook page for your author journey. And if they want some behind the scenes information, some sneak peeks, to go follow you over there. Start allowing yourself to grow that audience while you're writing. You can share your challenges. I've got writer's block with my developmental editor today. I'm on version 6. How many versions do you think it might take? Allow yourself to be human. Allow yourself to share frustrations and allow people to really get to know you through your journey. By the time you get to publishing that book, you'll already have a following of people that really clearly want you to be successful and have been following along with you. Finalize your manuscript. Developmental editor is really important. Start there. Then copy and line editing, and finally proofreading. Sometimes you'll find an editor that does all of that, like with Bobby Hinman, my children's book editor, and my number one recommendation for anybody working on a picture book. She does a comprehensive edit. She also does line and copy editing and final proofreading. She edits my author bio, book blurb, back cover, Amazon description, and press kit. All that together is an amazing value. Some people prefer to have different eyes at the developmental versus the line and copy editing, and then maybe a different person on proofreading. However you want to move forward, just make sure all of these things are covered. Then start evaluating some of the publishing options. Determine which one is right for you. Is Amazon print on demand something you want to do? Do you want to print a high quality book with a printer and do offset printing? Maybe work through a distributor. I have a video, an interview with Jennifer from Pathways. She is the distributor that I've aligned myself with and will take on my author books and set up everything on Amazon for you through their Amazon. They'll distribute your high quality books that you've printed offset. I have an amazing offset printer, Jenna Beth Ortiz from Jostens, who works to consult with people. These are the paths to consider. If you're just looking to vet your title, you can start with print on demand to see if it's got legs. Once it starts selling, you can up level the quality and do an offset print. If you're not sure, consulting a coach is helpful. For self-publishing resources, my site, selfpubmadesimple.com, is great. I have a free mini course there that allows you to get an overview of what self-publishing and the initial steps of the process. And then, of course, I do have coaching and other things. Here's some things that I'm going to be sharing with the folks that are in attendance today. I have a workbook that walks through all of the steps that I've gone through today, along with the slides. Use Amazon, Goodreads, local libraries for your research and your competition. Analytic tools like Katie Spy and Publisher Rocket to determine the earning potential. If you are interested in specialized coaching and critique of your manuscript, go through the information here and grab a coaching session with me. I offer free coaching assessment or consult. It's just a 20-minute discovery call to see what your needs are and talk through that with me. If you are getting through your writing and ready to move forward with publishing your book, I have a group, an author work group that starts on June 17th. It is a 12-week course to help you move from a written manuscript. We go through 12 weeks to take you through the editing, the illustration, if you need illustrations, the design, and the publishing of your book to a best-selling book launch. Through the whole process, every single week of those 12 weeks, we go through topics around marketing topics. So it is a full course, my signature program developed over 8 years and perfected over time. I would like to invite you to consider that as a potential option if you are ready to get this book published so that in time for Christmas sales or this year. If you want accountability and community, we meet twice a week live. You'll also get video course, as well as the tools and templates and everything that I've created over these past 7 years to get you to the point where you can get this book published with all the hand-holding you need. This is my website, author work group, all the information you need about a work group. The cost for the 12 weeks is $19.99. Early sign-on bonuses, some additional one-on-one coaching with me. And also, I have a new launch library that I've been working on, and it's in beta. But anybody who joins this work group will also have a ton of new templates and tools to be able to launch their book to a bestseller. You will have all of my recommended resources and 12 weeks with me to make that happen. Later today, I want to grab the most up-to-date version of the workbook and send that with the slides. I appreciate your engagement and hope to see more of you. aprilcox.com/consult is to schedule a 20-minute session. Feel free to grab that time with me, and I look forward to seeing these dreams of yours turn into validated ideas that turn into finished books that you can be proud of. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.